Okay, live stream is on, maybe. So fun with all new people all the time who've never done this thing before. I don't know why I even need headphones since I can't actually hear anything. So let's see if we can make this work. I know what I should play is this, just to make sure everybody's good. Hello. Let's see. Yeah, there, I can hear myself on a delay that way. Okay. I hope everybody is having a good day. This is going to be a little strange for me to get used to. Again, I think I should be wearing headphones or something, but there's really nothing for me to hear unless I want to, like, listen to myself in a delay, and that just seems absolutely ridiculous to me. So let's try it without any sort of headphones or anything. It's all going to feel weird anyway. So today I've gotten a lot of requests to show some PHP frameworks, and we're going to do a little bit in on our Treehouse content and actually dive deeper into some frameworks and how they work and that sort of thing, and give you a deeper dive on Treehouse. But I figured for some live streams I would go about showing a couple of different frameworks, and we can take a look at how those work and the documentation, and hopefully get some of you familiar enough to feel comfortable with trying it yourself. I tried to make this as easy as possible for people to kind of follow along and do their own thing. I'm going to be using the free version of MAMP, and I'm going to be using PHP Storm just because I like the way that works, and it's a nice IDE. You can use a text editor or anything you'd like. So hopefully this will be pretty easy. I will add more notes in the comments later, or make sure there are links here for stuff later. I guess I may have been able to do some of that beforehand, but I was just trying to make sure this whole streaming thing would work. So thank you for your patience today. I appreciate you being patient with me as we give this a try. I hope everything looks okay for people. We're going to start off by creating a new project just by following the documentation, and then we're going to go pull a starter project and from GitHub and play around with that, and hopefully get a chance to dive into a few things with CodeIgniter. If you have some things you're wanting to see, make sure you add that to the comments. Doesn't look like my comments are streaming in here. Let me see if I can fix that really quick. Okay, we'll give that a try and see what happens. Woohoo! Looks like we're gonna get it. Some live chat going on here. I like CodeIgniter. Woohoo! Talk about what you're going to do today. Yes, so today we're just gonna play around with the CodeIgniter and how just setting up a basic app. If there's something you want me to connect, we can give that a try. We're just going to try jumping in and getting a website up and running. So we'll see the quickest ways we can do that and the quickest ways to try some things out. So we're going to play around with CodeIgniter. If you want to follow along, go ahead. This will be recorded. You can follow along later. You can watch it now, follow later, or whatever you'd like to do. So let's get started. So first things first, like I said, I am going to be using PHP Storm. So I'm going to open Storm, which I should have had open, but I didn't. So it will take just a minute. My computer doesn't like all the streaming software. Okay, while that's opening, let's go over here and go to the documentation. It's always a great place to start. We could start with the download, but don't jump ahead of ourselves. Primary documentation, we're going to use CodeIgniter 3. So let's go over to read the user guide. Welcome to CodeIgniter. Woohoo! This will tell you about what CodeIgniter is for. This is what their suggestions are if you want to use it. So let's look at installation instructions. It says download CodeIgniter and open the config. Okay, so let's start with downloading CodeIgniter. Current version. Let's give that a try. CodeIgniter. Okay. Okay, so maybe, move it, come on. Hello? They want to see it. They want to, oh, I know why. Okay. Let's just do this. Ha, there we go. That doesn't like to move stuff over. So let's start here with my Finder. Here's our download. Nope, that's my movie. Testing things out. Where is my download? This one right here? Yes, this one right here. Here we go. Okay, so in my sites folder, I have our CodeIgniter 3.1.5. So, first things first, I'm going to use this and MAMP. So I'm going to go into my preferences. And sites. And my CodeIgniter. Select that one. We'll say OK. So. So, let's see. Localhost. Woohoo! Welcome to CodeIgniter. Okay, look at that. We got our CodeIgniter website up and running. You're all ready to go. That was a great live stream. Thank you all for attending. Have a great day. Okay, well, maybe not. But that was pretty easy to get set up. We did get a CodeIgniter page right off the bat. Pretty cool. We're ready to go a little bit deeper. So let's go back to the installation instructions first. And we're going to see what it says. If you wish to increase security by hiding your location of your CodeIgniter files, you can rename the system and application folders to something more private. Okay, we're going to set this up in a little bit more normal way that a web server is set up, we're going to set up a public folder. So we're going to add a new public folder, and we're just going to move our index file in there. Okay. Now I'm going to change my MAMP settings so that my root folder is actually my public folder and not just my CodeIgniter folder. So we'll do that. Okay. We'll go back there. This isn't going to work because I haven't changed my settings, and that's fine. So now that we have PHP Storm up and running, we're going to create a new project. Here we're going to do PHP 7. We'll do 7.1. CLI interpreter. There we go. Let's see. We're going to go into right here. Open. Yes. While we're waiting, yes, CodeIgniter is free to use. Lots and lots of free tools out there for PHP. So this is everything that I'm using today, with exception of PHP Storm, is free. You don't need to use PHP Storm. It's just what I consider the best IDE. It's usually fairly quick and easy, and it just works the way I kind of expect it to work. So it works well for me. So I'm going to go into here again. Here's our CodeIgniter folder, and in our public directory I have our CodeIgniter index file. And let's go back here just so we see what's going on. Here it's telling us that we're going to change the system path and the application folder. So let's start off by doing that. So where is our system path? Here we go. Instead of being in this directory, we're going to go just up a directory. And this one is going to go up a directory. And let's give that a try. Woohoo! It works again. The second thing we've been able to do now is secure our application a little bit more by keeping things out of the public folder. Or on a live server, this would help it to be harder for people to hack because they can't even access those files from the web server, because the only thing that's going to be displayed or shown to the web is from that public folder. So it's one quick security thing we can do to help keep our sites from being hacked. Okay, so not a whole lot to play around with here. We could get into some of the tutorials and things like that. One of the things I like to do if I'm going to explore a new framework is to play around with a starter application. So other people have put together, or sometimes the framework has put together a starter file or a starter site for you, which will group a bunch of things together and have it set up so you have some things to play with, and kind of it helps you get an idea of what you can do and one way to do it. I wouldn't always start an application that way because it might not have the same things I want, or may have things that I don't want, and removing them and all that stuff may not be set up exactly like I want, but it's a really good way to start. So let's first take a look for CodeIgniter starter project. So there's a bunch of them here. Let's just pull up a few and take a look. Okay. So one of the first things that I do when I look for a package is to see how recently they've been updated. So I can see here on this one it was 8 days ago, which is good. This one says 5 months ago. That's not horrible. 5 months ago again. Let's see. Yeah, that's all 5 months. 5 months. This one says 15 days ago. 15 days ago. 14 days ago. That's not bad. And 4 years ago, that's a no-go. So the other thing to make sure we look for is the license here. Definitely want to make sure we use MIT. This one doesn't have a license, so technically you're not really allowed to use it if it doesn't share a license with you. So let's not do that one. This one here, again, 5 months ago. 1 contributor, let's say no. This one has 3 contributors, 14 days ago. Commits, 4 branches. This one, the health, 2 branches, 8 contributors, that's better. 8 days ago. I like this. I like the look of this. This is looking pretty good. Or this one. Let's see. Based on CodeIgniter, installation, node, npm. Not exactly what I'm looking for. This looks like we've got some user login stuff. Promising. Promising. This looks pretty good. Okay. Let's try this one. Again, we're just using it to play around, so it's not, if it doesn't work for us, that's really okay. We just want to get some idea of what we can do with CodeIgniter. So we're going to start with this. Introduction. It uses jQuery and Twitter Bootstrap. I like Bootstrap as a nice way to get started with a website. Very minimalistic kind of design. I like that. It's a CodeIgniter 3, which is what the version CodeIgniter is on now. And it says it's intended for new CodeIgniter developers who want a simple, easy platform for learning the framework. Exactly what we're looking for here. So these all look good. Let's see. Base class. Okay. There's the user management setting. Installation. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Create a new database and then import the included SQL file. Okay, so let's start with that. Let's download this and open a new. Oops. Trackpad is being a little sticky weird. We'll just download it. You could clone this if you wanted to as well. Oops. Okay, I moved everything. I moved this folder, the CI3 Firestarter Master, into my sites folder. So we're going to try this. We're going to change our settings there. We're also going to set up a database. So, oops, that was above that. Where are my? There's my installation. Okay. So let's go back into MAMP. We'll set our preferences first. We'll change this to be in here. We'll select that. Okay. going to be doing some live streaming on some other frameworks as well. We'll probably look at Symfony and maybe Cake PHP as well. One of the reasons I started with CodeIgniter is we've had some requests for CodeIgniter, and a lot of people have gotten started on it, and it's a nice place to start. We have a Laravel 4 course at Treehouse, and we'll be updating a Laravel 5 course there soon. Laravel has a great community around it. A little bit different way of doing some things, but like I said, it has a great community, so it's a good place for new people to start with. Let's open this and add a database. Tools, PHP, my admin. So we're going to create a new database here. We're going to call this CI3 Fire. Okay, we're going to go into privileges, create a new user. This can go away. Okay, username is user. Sure. We're going to set this on, we'll leave it as any host for now. I'm going to save this password in my notes because we're going to want to use that later. So, CI3. So, I like to keep a little notepad open off to the side where I'll be taking some notes. You can always take some notes off to the side when you're doing things as well. Something that you find easy. I'm going to grant all permissions for now. I don't think it gave me anything specific. Nope, so we'll start with that. Okay. Let's see. Now it says I want to import some data. Okay, so import. Choose a file. I want to go into the sites. This one. Data. SQL. There we go. Let's try that. Go. No database selected. Where is I not in my database? Yep, my user's there. Good. I'm on my database. Let's import again. Try this. It's taking a little longer. It should work, right? Green. Green means go. Good, good, good. Woohoo! Okay. Everything looks good on that. So let's see what they tell us our next step is. Modify the application config file. So let's look. And let's change this. We'll leave this one. We're going to start a new a new application, new project. We'll choose our fire starter. use. Yes, I want to use this one, and I'm going to open in the current window and get rid of that other one for now. Let's see. We want application, config, and we're in development. So let's go into the development and let's check out our config file. We're going to say our base URL is just localhost. Localhost. Config. Okay. Log threshold. Encryption key using the recommended method. Okay. So let's see, that seems pretty easy. Let's go back here. What were we looking for? Line 220. There we go. Log threshold set to 1. 314. Encryption key. Using the recommended method. Key will be assigned. Okay. Notice that create key. Let's try this. That's the one problem with this room. Lights turn off. Okay. Okay, I don't think it wants us to put it right here. Probably want to grab the key first and save it. Let's see what that's going to do. Let's configure our database. Let's see, we have localhost user is our CI3 user, password, database. I just made it that. see. Database. Okay, let's try our core. Set your preferences. Site version. Okay. Those look fine for now. We can always change those if we want. But okay. File sessions, visit your new URL. Okay, let's take a look. Let's try our new URL, localhost. Let's make sure our server is on. Let's make sure Firestarter master. Good. Let's restart our servers. Okay, let's go back here. Before we set that, we'll just leave their encryption key for now. Oops. Not changing anything we don't have to. Core, let's try the database again. Okay. CI3 user, localhost, fire privileges, hostname. Let's set this hostname to localhost just to give that a try. Oops. Let's add another user. Fire user, we'll set this to localhost. Actually use the same password that I had before. Okay. So let's go back here. Let's go back here and set this to fire user. CI3 fire. Okay, now let's take a look. Sure. What? Environment. Let's see how we know we're in the environment. Environment. But how to, so auto detecting and root index. Let's try that. Okay. Index. Let's start here. Oh, if it's looking for .dev. Okay. So if domain and equals localhost. There we go. Or .local CLI. Huh. Interesting. Okay, let's give that a try now. Here. Welcome, woohoo! Welcome to the CI3 Firestarter. Nice. Let's see what this gives us. Localhost. That's not going right. So let's go back to our configs. Config. Sometimes we need login. Nope. Base URL. I wonder what it's. Login. Nope. Okay. That's fine. Okay. Why is it double entering that? With a trailing slash. Okay, that's what I did. Probably just didn't refresh here before I linked. Let's try this. Nope. Firestarter home. Login. Nope. Okay, core index. I think I need to start it with HTTP. That's probably what it is. HTTP, just so that it knows that's actually my host. Localhost. Oops. Go back. Let's try this again. Ha. There we go. Okay. Even when we're using localhost, we still need the HTTP there. Okay, so we have that. We have our we've clicked to our login, back to our documentation. The installation was up here. We're good. It says that our default administrator is admin. So let's go in there and give that a try. Admin. Okay. Click. This is a demonstration. Nice. No. Cool. So we have users, list users. Cool. John Doe is not an admin. Status, cool. Okay, so what is it that it's going to let us do? Here are messages, test, message, site name. Huh. Oops. Treehouse, live stream, CI Firestarter. Oh, we'll keep the 3 in there just so we know what it is. Okay, meta keywords. Site description. Okay, we'll put a site description in here. This is my site for learning CodeIgniter. Igniter. There we go. Site email. I am in oh, there's a welcome message. English, welcome. Welcome. Huh. Added welcome text. Cool. Save. Okay, let's go to our dashboard. What do we get? Our text. Hello and welcome to our dashboard. Let's see. Go back to our main screen. There it is. Added welcome text. We have a contact form. Let's see what happens. Title test. Contact test. Oh, it doesn't like my test. A longer message. BP91H. I'm a bit weirded out on how they've set that up. What mail server is that going through? Is it actually sent? Look at that. There it is. Look at that. Huh. Actually have it set up. Wonder what servers it's using for that. Interesting. Well, we have lots of things we can dive into here. Okay, I don't need that open anymore. There's our test contact. We have a contact page. We have our login. Let's see, check my profile. Username, site, username. I'm gonna change it to my normal username. And first name, Alina, last name, Holligan, Alina at treehouse.com. This is going to change my admin password to which is a good idea to do, but we're not going to do it right now. I'm going to make it easy for myself and just leave it as admin right now, just so that I know. It's a local server, nobody's going to access this anyway. You definitely would want to change it. So, my profile, cool. And okay, live stream. If you would like to edit this page, we can find it there. Our controller for this page should start using the user guide. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Click here to view the sample API output of our users. Nice. Let's see. Hey, look at that. We have our basic users here in a nice JSON format. That's cool. Click here to view the sample user profile. Okay, well, should take you to the same thing, right? Oh, there's administrative. Okay, let's try John Doe, just to see what that's like. Okay, log out. Log back in as John Doe. Here we go. Let's see what John Doe's profile is all there. Nice. Okay, home. And we even have localization. Very nice. Nope, I don't need to translate it. We're letting it translate it for us. Nice. Okay, so now we have some basic things we can take a look at, how this starter file is using it and what we might do. So let's play around. We currently have our pages, so we have our views and controllers to look at. We have a contact form that's coming through somehow, which is cool. We have our profiles that we can update once we're logged in. We can log out and we can go to admin, which we changed. And here we see our users. Button changes from blue to gray. Nice. Test contact. Oh. We received a message. Nice. It logs the messages that were sent as well. Very cool. Settings. Oh, and the nice little debug information here. See what we're running. Okay. Okay, so let's play around. Let's take a look at what we have and see what things we can do. So we're going to leave our configuration files. Let's close this down so we can take a look at this first. Okay, we have our basic information, our basic files. There's a YAML config for those of you who may or may not have seen that. Let's close some of this information out. We should still probably play with that, generating our own key instead of using the key that they gave. Which, let's go back there. We should be able to do here. Okay, let's create this first. And let's go to our index. So it's on 220 something here. No, I think it was in our config. Application, config, there it is. So let's echo that. Should be able to grab that information here. This one not in object context. Application. Where's our environment variables? Our systems path, application folder, custom config. Main constants. Okay, let's go back to the config. Let's load library. There we go. Initializing the class. There we go. So this is probably what we need. Ha. Let's go back here. It's first. Oops. We're still accessing the controller. Okay, so which controllers? What's our main controller? Let's go back here. Controllers. Welcome controller. Welcome. Index. Let's try it right here. This load library encryption. And then let's try this. Echo the key. Let's try that. There it is. We've got some key here. Okay, so they have theirs, we have ours. I'm not sure where exactly we want to put this, so when we play around with this, we'll come back. We'll want to load it from somewhere. We could do our public controller, maybe? Public controller? But this would be our key config. I wonder when that's loaded. We'll table this for another time. I'm going to save that. I'm going to put this in my notes. Notes. We'll want to controller. Kind of surprised they didn't tell us a little bit more where they wanted us to go, because we created it. You'd think they would just have that. I would think they would just have it, but there we go. Do that, do that. We save this. We refresh that. We don't need that there anymore. We got rid of it here. We have our public controllers. Okay, so our welcome controller extends our public controller, which is extending my controller, which extends the CI controller, which is the application controller for CodeIgniter. So these all add extra settings. So we have our welcome page. Includes our welcome message. Here's that welcome message that we set in the admin panel. And then here it's telling us to load our views. So that's where we could load our views. Let's take a look at that. We've got our controllers, we've got the core, here are some views. And we're looking for welcome. So this is welcome. It's welcome, content data we're passing. So let's go in here to welcome. And all of this language specific stuff, which is how they do the localization. Welcome content user. Okay, so that's where let's check out our languages. English. So for our welcome page, here is the text that we've used for our welcome page. And if you were to see, for instance, Spanish, here's the welcome language there for our Spanish page. Great. We have our admin pages, contact page, our core language. Nice, we can use those. And I wonder how this defaults. Well, let's try it first. Welcome test. We're gonna say test. And I'm going to guess, since we don't have it, it's not going to show at all. So if we go on to our welcome page, our welcome message, we're also going to use this. That's the same. After our welcome message, we're going to say welcome test. We'll save that. And we have our test here, which is good. And if we switch to Spanish, notice our test is not there. Or that's because we don't have a Spanish translation for that variable. So it's just not going to show up at all. So when we're translating pages, it's really helpful to make sure that all of our variables get saved. Again, lights. Let's fix that. Okay, so just something to remember if you're going to do localization this way. Again, we would not have to do localization at all. You can completely write it in however you want. Here's our welcome page. We don't need to pull our language. We can type whatever text we want. This is just some text. And it's just one page. We update it. This is some text. And it shows up even on the Spanish version because it's directly there as text and not as a variable. So when I go into English, we get that as well as test. So you don't need to use localization if you don't want to. It might be little bit more complicated than what you're looking to get into, especially if your site has no reason to work in another language. Google Translate works for people if they really need. And if you're not having anybody translate it, it doesn't do you a lot of good. So you don't have to use localization, but they're showing us how that's used. They are creating these variables. They're essentially a collection of variables. So our language, and then we've named our language. They split it by spaces, welcome, title, welcome content, and you can just use anything you want. This is how they've split it up so that we're not using the same variable in more than one language file. If we had our, let's just name this, let's go back and name this test, and then we'll go into our English contact as well, and we're going to add another one here that says language, I say test equals contact test. We'll combine it just so that we know it's all together. And then we'll want, we need to change our pages. So on the welcome page, let's try, we'll just name this test. And then we can do our view contact page. Here's our contact page, our form, and here's our language here. So we'll just put it above our form. Test. Oh, let's echo that out and we'll see nothing. Okay, so let's go back and give this a try now. Contact test. Cool. Okay, so we can do that, but now it's confusing as to which test we're using. So if we were to go into the language file, here's language test. Okay, well, that's test. There's test. Okay. But if I'm going to use that everywhere, great. I should have that in my core language or somewhere like that where I'm going to use files throughout. It's helpful to split things up by language, just like you would split up files, folders, those types of things. Organization will help you know where things are. So even though this works and we were able to put our language files in both places, we're not going to do that this way for now. We'll get rid of that. We're going to close a couple of our controllers for now. We don't need to see those. Our form, we're going to get rid of this. Oops. And did we not leave it? Let's move that too. Okay, so our form is back. We don't need that. Welcome page is here, just some text. We're not going to put that here, just some text. We'll leave that here. Welcome language. So that's how we would change things around. Let's try adding a page. That's one of the first things that we're going to want to do here to add stuff. So we've got our home page, we have a contact page, and then if we're logged in, you can see our profile. But what other page might we want here? Well, let's start with, we just want some kind of text page. So let's create an About Us page, just as a basic website. What are some of the basic things we have? About Us page. Okay, so how would we go about doing that? Well, first off, we know that we have pages here. Here's our welcome page, our contact. We have a contact form that's in here. So we could create, we'll probably want to create a new folder to start with, and we'll call this About. And then what do we have in here? We have a file. We have a PHP file that sets up our template for us. So let's start with our welcome PHP. We're going to create a new one that says new PHP file about.php. And then we're going to copy from our welcome page. Okay, we'll paste it here. Okay, now remember we don't have to use any of these extra language things here. So we can just take all of this out. We're going to leave this defined base path or exists no direct script access allowed. Exit. If we're trying to access this file directly, essentially we're just saying we don't want to show this script because it's not going to work on its own. It's part of the application. So now I can put in whatever I want here. I'm just going to put in let's see, how did they do welcome message? Okay, let's start here. We'll just do a paragraph. Say, this is my about page. Okay, so now we need to tell our application to go here. So how is CodeIgniter handling that? Well, it's handling that through our controllers. So we have our application, our views, our controllers. Oops. Our regular controllers. Here's profile. Here's our welcome controller. Okay, so we're going to want to use this, but the same kind of thing here. So let's copy this file again. So we're going to create a new controller, and we're going to call this about.php. And then we're going to paste in here, and then we're going to change this to about. Again, we're going to extend the public controller, and we're going to load our language welcome. We don't have a language for about, but I'm going to put it here just so that we're ready to load it when that becomes available. We're going to set, this is where it says set our title. Page header or the site name. That's cool. Let's see how it did the contact. Set rules. Contact form. How are they doing the header? Not there. So title. There we go. Yep. Contact import title. Okay. Well, so let's go away here. Let's go back to about. Set title. We really can just set this equal to about us. And then we actually don't care about the welcome message. That was that special message that the welcome page had that was pulling from the admin section. And then our content, we're going to load a view. So load a view. We'll call this is our this is our about. And we could pass content data. So again, if we go into here, views, contact form, content data, because if we want to pass it any information about language and things like that. So we have that. And then our, let's see, admin contact user. About. Okay, so language is looking for our language. We couldn't get it. And it's not finding anything in there. Function load. It's trying to load the language. So let's go back to about, and let's not try to load the language. We don't really need to create that, so we won't. Content data, again, we haven't set anything to pass to our about page, but if we wanted to, it was there. So we didn't really need this either. Let's try. Let's say we could take it out or we could set it here. So let's just set it for now, just so that we are more ready to use it later. Like I said, again, we could just remove it and not use it because it wasn't being set. We weren't using it for anything. But this will allow us to pass information into our about page. Right now we're not using anything. It's basically just writing out some HTML. So let's start with that. Unable to load the requested file about.php. So let's see. About. I'm pretty sure that was where my problem lies, is that here, because in my, like here, if you'll see I went into it, contact and then form. There's my view. So if we go back to our about page, we only have an about and then about again, because we put it into a folder. So we could have taken it out of the folder. We could name it something else. All we need to do is do about. So you notice that we have, oops, here our contact form, and this is our about. So now let's try that again. There we go. We have our about page, about us, which was pulled from our site title. And then we have this is my about page that we pulled from here. So this routed it for us by creating our controllers. By adding the name here, we passed it to a controller. It looked for that controller. We added the about controller. We have that here. So now we want to update our navigation, because right now we have our home contact profile. There's really no way to get to this about page if we don't know about it. So I think this will be, this can be a lot more complicated than building a very simple site. If you don't need all of this information, if you're just building a HTML site, CSS site, that's here. You want to add a little bit of PHP to pull a date or something, you can do that. This will give us a lot more control. It's starting to get a lot more complicated, but again, most of this was already set up for us. Our CodeIgniter base file was a lot more simple than this because it didn't have all these pages. There was no login, there was no contact form, there was none of that. That's already been added for us now in this starter project that we loaded. So this is more to give you an idea of some of the things that you can do. Again, you don't have to do it all this way. So okay, so first things first, let's see about setting up our navigation. So let's see. Navigation. Okay, so assets, maybe themes, core, default, template. There we go. So this looks like we should have some things here. So there's our language, our base URLs, the active, here's our content. Here we go. Here's our navigation bar. So we're gonna add a new page and we're gonna call this About. That's active, our base URL, and then we want to go to About. And then core button, About. Which shows us that here's another language file. We need to know About. So we know where our language is. We can go to English, core language, and then button, contact. We're going to duplicate this one and say About. Okay, because I'm doing it in the language this way, let's take a look. Now we've saved those. We now have our About button here. We have our contact button, again, works like the navigation. Now, if we try to change our language, notice our button is kind of funky here because we don't have that language file in here. So this could be something good that we want to do. So if we're not creating a language for a certain page, maybe there's a core aspect of our site that we want to have translated into multiple languages. What we could do is not set up the navigation for sites that did not have that language defined. So what we could do, we could do something as simple as in our template. So this is what we're looking for. So PHP if language if not empty, empty, let's start our if. Okay, if not empty, language, there we go. So we have our if statement surrounding our link. So if we don't have the text for that link, we're not going to show the link to that page. So it's just another way you could do when you're thinking about language for different people. If you don't want to translate all of the site, you don't have to. Again, you could create it, although we could create a page that requires them to use Google Translate if they want to see this page and leave our core as really translated. You could make like your navigation, make sure that was a nice clean translation, some core aspects that you want could be in a nice clean translation, and then articles on your blog or whatever, you could allow those to require Google Translate if someone wanted to translate those. So you can combine the localization without having to make everything in a specific language. And again, we don't have to create this site with localization at all. We can just make the site in whatever your native language is. Like, for instance, English for me, I could just make an English site. Many sites out there are just a single languaged site, and that's fine. If you're doing business only in one country, the basic language for that country usually works really well. So this is just an extra aspect. You probably don't need to include this when you're creating the site. So we're back in English. We have our home page now that we know how to change. We have our about page that we added. And we have our contact page, which is a form. What we could do is add more information here and have them go to a different page, more information to contact before the form, all kinds of things. Home page, about page, our profile when we're logged in, log out. This is what people would normally see. So let's take a little bit of closer look at what else we have going on here. So first, let's take a look at what they're doing for the form. So let's close these. We'll leave that open. Oops. Check our CAPTCHA and our CAPTCHA folders, our form, validation, save and send message, post this settings, we don't care about language, view form, action, role form. Does it give us any information about forms? Forms. Added database-driven menus with submenu capabilities and built-in bootstrap formatting. Enable, see if, okay, platform. Okay. Contact model, save and send message. Okay, so that's a core of CodeIgniter. Let's take a look. What does CodeIgniter say about forms? The CAPTCHA is using let's see what he said for CAPTCHA. Enhanced CAPTCHA PHP GD extension for the CAPTCHA to work. So it's using the, so it wrote my CAPTCHAs to this file and is it using the CAPTCHAs from CodeIgniter? Libraries, hooks. There's my CAPTCHA helper. Here is the path for creating, here's the function for creating the CAPTCHA. So that will help you go through if you want to look more closely into the CAPTCHA. Core helpers. Oops, let's see. Date helper, CAPTCHA helper. Okay. Let's go back here. Create form helpers. Let's see. Helper forms. Here's a simple form, email, send. Email helper, form helper. Can we set up anything else? Does it give? Let's just do a search for SMTP in CodeIgniter, because oftentimes I want to be able to use a different server than what is on my production or dev server. Okay. Email extends controller. Oops. One more time for the light. Yeah, send mail. It's just sending through the mail server. So if not function exists, function send mail. So I should be able to create my own mail function. Let's go here. Let's go to the CodeIgniter forums. See what they actually say. Form helpers. security helpers, path helpers, language helpers. Nice. Helper language. CAPTCHA helper. Create CAPTCHA. There's your CAPTCHA. Okay. Okay, so if we wanted to create our email class, we could create an email class. Is that how we want to spend our last 20 minutes here? We could create, it works on my configuration. On other configurations, it's not going to work. So you're probably going to want to set up an email server. If you're on a shared hosting server, you're probably going to be able to use the mail function just fine to send email. So let's see, what do we have so far? This could be the next best thing to look at. So we have our pages. We were able to add pages, edit our pages. We have a form that is sending out. We have a login page that we can log into, and we can put things in the admin section. Should we post more? Should we try to do some things in our admin, or should we try to send email? Those would be the two next things that we could maybe try to do. Do we have any votes from anyone? Which one we should try out before we close here? We could create a form that lets us email different users on the site, since we have this nice little message box here. Okay, I'm going to say we're going to want to try to set up an email. So let's give that a try. So we're going to set up a new class. So let's go in here. save and send message. And send mail, email, we could put it in our contact model, which is checking our CAPTCHAs, save and send. It is trying to email here. This email send. So we could override our contact model here. So so we want to create a new function. We're going to rename this, but we'll do essentially what it has here, just so we don't have to retype anything. So this is using the email send. So let's create a new function, and we're going to have this be this is loading our config, email, email. We can put it right in here. So we're going to change this to our config. Okay, so we just need to set this up, try to send email. We need our config. Where does it load? Initialize. Okay, let's take this out. Okay. So we're going to pass it the SMTP information. Okay. They're saying we want to load the library. So let's try my library. Library, is it here? No. Yeah. Instead of initialize, they're saying let's give this a try and see what it does first. Then I'm guessing we're probably going to have to do something more like this. So let's set up the information for Gmail. Gmail SMTP server. Okay, if you're using two-factor authentication, you're going to have to set up some extra details that I know we're not going to be able to get to in the next 15 minutes. So I will add some notes in how to do that for two-factor authentication. You can actually use Gmail SMTP. It's just you're going to create an app password essentially to be able to use. So host, port, TLS, 465 for SSL. We'll try that. Unit treehouse.com. Okay, I'm going to grab my, oops, I don't need this, you don't need this. Okay. I'm going to grab my password, my app password, which I'm not going to show you on screen. All this two-factor stuff makes it more difficult for me as well. But that also means that it makes it more difficult for someone else. Select app, mail, select device, custom name. Generate. Here we go. Okay. Done. Okay. Uh-oh. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna pull this from somewhere else right now just to try it. So if we go file, okay, contents, let's see. We'll actually just do it this way. path.txt. Users Elena at path.txt. Okay, that should take care of that. Off live streaming. Okay, let's see what we get here. Back to our contact page. Lena at treehouse.com. Test SMTP. Testing a more than 10 character message. JJKZQ9. Our message has been sent, but let me test this out. Inbox. But I did. Look at that. Not only that, and my sent mail is my test SMTP, and I got that email. Nice. Test contact. Though I didn't test a longer message. Still not sure we're getting it, but I'm still not sure that that's exactly right. Let's see what happens with that one anyway. Two. Oops. My CAPTCHA. It doesn't look like it's sending my CAPTCHA either. I got that. Interesting. Yeah, I again received my new message, even though my CAPTCHA doesn't work. And even though I'm not positive that it's really using my SMTP settings. Although I may have set something, my environment up for that. I don't think we're going to get to that in 5 more minutes. So, I think I'm going to have to close up on it. I'm getting emails. Closing on a problem that I'm actually getting what I'm trying to get. I'm actually going to be writing a post that will talk about getting your app password for Gmail and how to set up the Gmail servers to when you're sending email. So if you want to connect via SMTP to Gmail, like I said, not much to it. Just take a look. You can do a search for app passwords. That's really the key that you need if you have two-factor authentication set up. Normally, it's still fine if you don't have two-factor authentication up. You can use your normal password that you use for Gmail. But if you do have two-factor authentication set up, which I suggest, it's still fairly easy to use. It's just that extra step of needing to create an app password for the application that you're building that you want to connect via SMTP. And then you would use that specific password for your in your setup file, which again is really nice because you can always delete those app passwords from one account, and then you don't have to worry about having that password out and about in the wild and all these places that might be using your SMTP information is not out there. So make sure that you check that out. Like I said, take a look yourself if you want for app passwords with Google. That's the key. So before I go, I wanted to say thank you very much for tuning into live streaming. Please tweet out to me at Sketchings and let me know what other frameworks or tools you would like to see. I'm kind of planning on doing frameworks for the next 2 weeks after this, so a 3-week series of frameworks. We started with CodeIgniter. We showed how to get it set up from downloading the file itself, how to secure that a little bit by putting the index file within the public directory and everything is below that. We also use this starter project to give ourselves some different information to play with and try around to use CodeIgniter. So those are some good ways to get started in any framework that you might want to use, but we'll try to use some more. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. So make sure that you check out Treehouse. We have some other basic stuff for setting up MAMP or setting up Composer or other basic uses for PHP. So if you want to start off with we have courses for you on Treehouse. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Not only will you get live streaming from me for the next 2 Fridays, there are past live streams from Kenneth Love, our Python teacher, who does a number of other live streams, and also from our C.NET teacher, James, just did some live streaming the last 3 weeks. Our Android teacher does some live streaming. So if you enjoy the live streaming and you like to not feel so bad about yourself because you can see how much we all mess up and things never work out exactly the way you expect them to, live streaming is a great way to understand that. So I would encourage you to watch some of those, jump in, learn a little bit more. So I hope to see you next week, next Friday, same time, and same time, same place. You can find me here, same bat time, same bat channel. And like I said, give me some suggestions, or we'll probably dive into Cake PHP next week. So join me next week for Cake PHP, or what other suggestions people are giving me for frameworks that we might dive into with PHP next week. Okay, I look forward to having some more, talking with some more of you next week.